Hey, it's me, MLB. Here is part 4 of On Me. Enjoy. Having said your piece, you went back to focusing on your meal, and then you got up and took your now empty container to the bin and dropped it in. You were expecting Nemuri to say something to you about waiting for her or her asking you to stay and talk, but when you walked off to go and brush your teeth, she just remained sat at the kitchen bench, munching on the Dorito chips and staring into the bag. You came back out of the bathroom and walked past her, giving her a glance as you passed. "I'm going to bed," you said, heading to your room. Again, you expected her to call out to you, but she didn't. Oddly, you got into bed and pulled the covers up and then reached up to make sure your alarm was set, and that's the last thing you remember. When you woke the next morning, you were surprised to find yourself alone in bed. For some reason, you'd almost expected that Nemuri was going to have climbed in with you at some point in the night, but she wasn't there. Curiously, you got out of bed and walked to the kitchen, stealing a glance towards the spare room. The door was open and the blinds were up, so after getting a glass of water, you slowly wandered over to have a look in. The bed was stripped of sheets and covers, but they were folded onto the end of the bed, with a note placed neatly on top. "Washed and cleaned. Thank you for taking me in," the note read. You picked it up and read it a few times, and then looked down at the neatly folded pile. You huffed with amusement, before walking back out to the kitchen. You paused for a second and listened into the silence of your apartment, wondering if Nemuri was still there somewhere, but all was quiet. "Nemuri?" you asked into the stillness, your questioning call being met by silence, and you huffed again at how silly you were being, calling out for her. Why were you calling? Weren't you happy she was gone? "Looks like she got back on her feet pretty quickly," you thought as you walked to the cupboard to get some food for yourself. You sat in silence as you ate, your mind wandering to her and wondering if she'd gotten home okay and what she was doing, but then you caught yourself and shook your head and frowned into your cereal. Why did you care? You had no way of contacting her either, so you couldn't send her a message to ask if she'd made it back home in one piece. You figured that she would be right back at the bar that night, all over you again like before, and then you would know she's okay. So with that thought, you pushed her out of your mind and finished up on your food, and then sat down on the lounge to binge watch some shows before getting back into life again. Thankfully, when you left your apartment to go shopping that afternoon, the old ladies in the building treated you as they usually did. You thought that if they had seen Nemuri leaving early in the morning, then they would have questioned you about her, but she must have been very discreet with her leaving, and you thanked her quietly for that. After doing a quick shop, you came back home and changed into your work gear and headed to work. You were on again that night from 5 p.m. till late, and fed Jinx again before leaving. "I'll be back later," you said to your puss as she hooked into the food in her bowl. You huffed with amusement and got your things and then left. It was another busy night. People were streaming in early this time, and you'll run off your feet from the second you stepped into the place. "What's going on tonight?" another male co-worker asked you. "It's so busy." "There are a few hero functions on tonight," another co-worker called out. "Got a few large packs." At hearing the word hero, you looked over at your co-worker. You knew someone by that title. You hadn't seen this person yet, though, and glanced up at the clock. Maybe she wouldn't come in. Maybe you'd been too harsh, and now she'd decided to just disappear altogether. It was still early, though. Maybe she'd come in after she finished work. Again, you realised you were thinking about her too much, and frowned as you quickly made up some drinks and sent them off. Just then another group of people entered the bar, and your co-worker called out a greeting to them. Casually, you looked up and spotted Nemuri at the back of the group. At first your heart leapt at seeing her, but then filled with dread at the thought of her coming over and throwing her flirty lines at you. But to your surprise and curiosity, she just stayed with the group and headed with them to a table over in the back corner. The other curious thing was that she didn't even look at you once. It didn't seem like she was avoiding eye contact either. She was just happily engaged in a conversation with another female hero. You looked down, again, finding that you were watching her too closely. What was wrong with you? One of the males on the table that she was sat at got up and then came across to the bar to place some orders, and you took the request, making the drinks up yourself. It was a group of 10, so you made the drinks to order, and then, surprisingly, took it upon yourself to take the drinks over to the table by yourself. "What am I doing?" you wondered as you walked calmly over and put the drink tray down on the end of the table. 4 beers, 1 gin tonic, 4 cocktails, and a soda water," you said blandly. "Soda water's mine," a chirpy female hero said next to where you'd put the drinks down, and you passed her her drink without another word. You then picked up the gin and tonic and passed it across to Nemuri. Most of the others hadn't been to your bar before, so this took everyone by surprise. "Wait, how did you know that was hers?" another perceptive female hero asked you. Nemuri looked at you and you looked at her. "Lucky guess," you said dryly. "Must be his quirk," one of the male heroes on the table joked, and there was a smattering of chuckles and light, agreeable comments, and then you continued to pass out the drinks. You and Nemuri made eye contact a few more times, but neither of you said anything, and then you left with your empty tray and walked back to the bar. You didn't know why you had chosen to do that. You weren't even sure what you had been hoping to achieve by doing that, but whatever the reason, you felt unfulfilled by the interaction. All that shift you found yourself stealing glances at her, but annoyingly, you never caught her making eyes back at you. How come the roles had reversed here? Had she sobered up that quickly? The night wore on and people started to leave, but her and her party were still going strong. It was well into the last quarter of the night when she finally got up and came to the bar to order a round of drinks. "Good to see you on your feet," you commented dryly to her in a lowered voice so that the others couldn't hear you. "Thank you again, and I'm sorry," she replied, and then switched to ordering. "Can we get another round for the boys and the other girls? But I'll grab an orange juice this time," she said. "You're not going to do a repeat of last night?" you joked. "No thanks," she replied. "I've done enough thinking for one night." "Fair call," you commented, getting the glasses ready to make more drinks. "Hey, sorry," she said again. "I didn't want the others to know what happened. It's a bit embarrassing. Thank you for not outing me. They don't know I come here regularly." "It's no trouble," you said, keeping on working and not looking at her. She nodded. Not much more was said while you made the drinks up, but you really wanted to talk to her, to find out how she was doing and what was going on in her mind, but that required energy, something you didn't really have nor knew how to unlock for that situation, so frustratingly, you just handed her the tray of drinks once they were done and let her go. "Why don't you just ask for her number next time she comes up, and then you can talk to her?" you asked yourself. She did appear to be a lot different today from yesterday. The next 20 minutes saw the guys on her table getting more and more drunk, as with two of the girls, and it was getting closer and closer to close. "We're going to call it," one of the guys slurred with a laugh, grabbing onto his mate's shoulders. "Can we get a taxi?" he asked, looking around to make eye contact with someone. This is the chance to strike YN. Can he do it? We will have to come back next week for the final part of On Me. I'll see you then.